Saw the money and got activated. Saw that money and got activated. I saw that money and got activated. Canada Goose. Keep me wearing my cold city. I got a pole with me. Glock cost 450.
Alright, what is up, guys? Since I got absolutely zero feedback on the last video on the whole intro deal, I'm gonna go back to doing the old intros that we've always done, and that is with the regular intro. We are back on the e36 again. Don't pay too much attention to the radiator because I literally just sat it in here and just kind of put the hoses on. I still got to get a drain plug for it, and then obviously clamps, and fill this thing with coolant up before I can even put that in there. I just kind of wanted to see how it fit. We did find the power steering pulley, which I don't know if I mentioned that in the last video. These things, this pulley right here is like $90. Like, it's ridiculous. So I'm glad I found that, because I did not want to spend $90 on a freaking pulley. So got that. So basically I've been working on the car for the last day, well, yesterday I think it was, or the day before that, and so we were missing drive shaft bolts. Well, I finally got these out. These were what was in there, and I couldn't find like a bolt that would really match up with these, but I don't think these are factory. I think someone else put these in there. So we went and got new bolts, which are these, and I didn't realize that these are like just a hair rounder than these. So when we got back here, these won't fit into the factory hole, so as you can see here. So I was like, okay, not a big deal, I'll just drill the hole out a little bit, and we'll be on our way. Well, that turned into like a 2 or 3 hour fiasco because I broke a drill bit, then these junk ass Harbor Freight drill bits went dull. So finally we got them all drilled out. Then it dawned on me, well, I have to do the same thing to the drive shaft. So I started drilling the drive shaft, and it ended up being an absolute nightmare. Needless to say, we just went and got smaller bolts, which is what we should have done to begin with. That was probably the most half-assed thing I've ever done in a while, and I'm kind of ashamed of it, but it is what it is. You learn your lesson. So we just went back out and got smaller bolts. The problem was I really wanted to get the drive shaft in because I wanted to bleed the clutch while Trey was up here, so I didn't have the time to wait and go get bolts. So that's my own fault, but it's all good because we went and got new bolts, and we should be able to throw the drive shaft in the car. And once we do that, I might see if I can get someone to come up here and help me bleed the clutch, and we can put this thing into gear for the first time. I'm not sure if it has trans fluid in it. I will probably put it in gear on jack stands, listen to see how it sounds. If it sounds terrible, I'll probably have to pull the drain plug. The crappy thing is, once you pull the drain plug, you pretty much are gonna have to put fluid in it. I guess I could pull the fill plug and try and stick something in there to see if there's fluid, but yeah, we'll get to that when we get there. And I'm gonna hop on trying to get this drive shaft in. Okay, so we got the drive shaft in. We've already put the car in gear to make sure that everything is good. Everything appears to be fine. The only thing preventing us from driving this car is the clutch. I've got fluid going through it now. I've been kind of letting it gravity bleed, and it has a very small amount of pressure to the point where it like comes back up and stuff. But it's every time I put this in gear, even with the clutch depressed, it still it starts spinning the tires, which realistically I could drive it like that, but that's just, I don't like the idea of not being able to disengage the clutch, especially on a first test drive, and especially trying to make this turn. The very last thing I want to do is launch this car into the furnace or something catastrophic goes wrong. So I'm gonna try and let it gravity bleed some more. It just needs enough pressure to where it disengages the clutch, at least enough to prevent the car from rolling any farther. Everything else is good. The shifter bushing is completely in. We put the wheels on the other side, and we slammed the coilovers. Well, we adjusted them all the way down. So we got that done. So basically at this point, we just need to drop the car. and we can take it on our first test drive, which is so exciting. I guess while I kind of let that gravity bleed, I'm going to clean some of the stuff off the engine bay so that nothing goes flying while we're driving it. Hopefully we can drive it tonight. My sister's usually the one I call when I need something bled, and she's working till midnight tonight. So tomorrow is like the first Saturday I haven't worked in like 3 or 4 months, and you know, so I'll probably be up here a little bit late, so I might be up here long enough to go test drive it if I can't get this clutch bled. I just need to buy a manual bleeder or a one-man bleeder system, so that, because this always happens to me, it's either breaks or it's always breaks. I'm waiting 2 or 3 days till I can get someone's help, because people will say they help and then they can't, and then I'm waiting on, and I hate waiting on people for something that something stupid like that. So okay, so gravity bleeding is taking super long, so I'm starting to get creative. I got this, and you know, powered seats, it helps. So got that pushed against the clutch pedal. This might take a little bit longer, but I can definitely do it by myself. So I think we're gonna give this a shot, see if we can get enough pressure in this thing to at least go drive it. All right, guys, the e36 is outside, and it moved out here under its own power. First test drive, probably not the best test drive, but it was a test drive. We made it, I want to say halfway down here before I decided it's not a good idea for me to go any farther. Only because for some reason the clutch is not engaging, or it's not disengaging. For some reason I have to pump the clutch up a bunch of times before I can even put it in gear, and I'm assuming that there's still air in it, but the clutch pedal is like crazy stiff, so there could be something wrong with the clutch save cylinder, or it could just have, I mean, this has a really like aggressive clutch in it, so it could be the fact that it has aggressive clutch in it combined with it having air in it, so it feels super stiff, but really there's still air in the pedal, is my guess. Because like I said, it's still like you have to pump it up a bunch of times for it to kind of allow me to go into gear, and that's really the sketchiest thing. The other thing is, when I was going along this straight right here, I was like giving it gas, and it was kind of just like sputtering really bad, which could have, you know, a lot to do with the fact that the MAF was kind of not even connected. I connected it all back together, and then I put it in reverse and drove it all the way back, and it allowed me to like actually hit the gas and not sputter. It also is on E, so that the fuel could be sloshing around in the tank and causing it to kind of bog out. Not to mention it's running off of just a battery with no alternator or anything. Could be getting low in voltage, but I just wanted to kind of get that little small test drive out of the way to make sure everything's good with the transmission. So probably what we'll do next is get the clutch bled properly, make sure that that's the issue, try and drive it again, and then go from there. I will say that this is the stiffest clutch I've ever felt in my life. Like literally, you let off that clutch, it's immediate. Like there is no in between. Like it's nuts. I've never felt a clutch that snappy before. So that's gonna take a lot to get used to. I literally stalled it like 2 or 3 times right there. But I'm geeked. It is crazy loud too. That's another thing. But no power steering really isn't that bad. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna try and get it back in here. It's super sketchy because when I let off the clutch, it like surges really bad because it doesn't have that like disengage really. So yeah, I'm gonna attempt to get it back in here. I'm gonna set the tripod up so you guys can watch, but this is one accomplishment, and I'm needless to say, I'm happy that it even made it outside. So we're probably gonna just pull it right in front of the hard body, because I want to clean up the area that it's been sitting in and get things more organized, and we can push it back over there tomorrow when we come back up here to work on it. So so we got the E36 inside. I didn't put it back in that spot. I'm gonna come back up here first thing in the morning and clean that up because it is already almost 1 o'clock. We got the E36 over here. I've actually been spending probably the last hour or so trying to crank the front, trying to torque the front crank bolt. And man, did I underestimate the amount of, you know, like sheer power this takes. This thing gets torqued to 300 foot-pounds. Never torqued anything that high. I have already broken, not only did I break the handle off on this guy and bent it, but the teeth completely shattered. I mean, and this isn't even mine. So Corbin, if you're watching this, I owe you a new torque wrench. I'm terribly sorry. I had no idea that was gonna happen. So the biggest thing is trying to prevent the crank from spinning, right? I know there's ways you can like lock it in or something. I've not messed with that yet. At first I tried to put the car in gear. I figured that'd be plenty enough. No, the car just tries to spin. It tries to roll forward. So I tried like putting blocks of wood and it would just literally roll over the blocks of wood. So I tried sticking something through the wheel and locking it into the chassis. That didn't work. So then I tried a ratchet strap around the crank and like let it like tighten up. That didn't work. Now I've got a serpentine belt on there, which works, but there's so much flex in it that you can't really, you don't have like a rigid tightening curve, if that makes any sense. So like, it's just like a bungee cord. So like you'll tighten it, it just snaps right back. And the other thing is the front of the end, like I'm torquing on it so hard that the engine is literally moving inside the motor mounts. So then I like put this ratchet strap and like try to ratchet strap it to one side so it couldn't move, and it's still like the ratchet strap is stretching while I'm trying to tighten that. And it's honestly terrifying. So I'm gonna call it quits for the night on that and maybe try to think of some other ways. Only thing I can think of is maybe put it in gear and have someone hold the brakes while also having this stuff in front of it. That might be enough, but the thing is now I don't have a torque wrench, so I got to figure that out because I really don't want to go buy a torque wrench right this second.